Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Just to have an introduction of people who are on the call, we have Reverend Eric Elms and Reverend Chris Alexander, as well as some other staff members from Countryside. We also have Rick McInnes, who was the Relocation Committee Chair and is the Tri-Faith Initiative Vice Chair of Operations for the church and the Tri-Faith Initiative. And then we have Christopher Vistat, who is a youth member and a student at Millard North, who will be speaking to us a little bit later. To just do a couple of little housekeeping items, we will keep everyone on mute while the presentations are going on. We will have a question and answer session at the end that Rick will handle. And then we will be sending this out afterwards for more information with a link to the video. So without further ado, I am going to play the video of the wonderful new attractions at Countryside.
Back in April of 2018, Countryside Community Church received a $125,000 grant from the Nebraska Environmental Trust, also known as NET, for the Bridging Faith in the Environment Church Campus as a resorted biodiverse plains ecosystem project. Countryside is an identified environmental leader with members and church leaders engaged with organizations such as Interfaith Power and Light, the Citizens Climate Lobby, and Eco America, where Countryside's senior minister sits on the board of advisors. Due to Countryside's involvement with Omaha's Tri-Faith site at 132nd and Pacific Streets, also known as Tri-Faith Commons, national environmental leaders saw a unique opportunity in Omaha to make a strong statement to the world that environmental care is not just a political or economic issue, but a faith issue. From 1924 to 2010, Tri-Faith Commons was part of an 18-hole golf course. Given that history, the site did little to aid biodiversity, sustain ecological health, or improve water quality. Because of the widespread publicity of the Tri-Faith Initiative, environmental leaders recognized that the environmental movement can leverage Countryside's involvement in improving the ecological health of the Tri-Faith Commons. With the NET grant, a landscaping master plan was developed to simultaneously unify the approximately 35-acre site and invite all members of the public to take in its visual messaging, walk along its inviting paths, and learn about the elements included in its restored ecosystem. The project involved the implementation of a sustainable landscape plan on Countryside's portion of the Tri-Faith Commons. This plan included water conservation, stormwater management, native plants, and improved habitat and soil health. After nearly 2 years of construction, the stunning new earth-friendly and sustainable site is now complete and open to the public. A goal of the project is to educate and inform people about landscape stewardship, including members of the three faith congregations, residents of the greater Omaha community, and anyone who wants to visit from across the state and nation. Within the site are signs provided by Verdis Group that describe the environmental sustainability of certain areas and give greater detail on the overall landscape. A notable feature on the updated site is Abraham's Circle Bridge. The bridge connects the 4 buildings on the Tri-Faith Commons and stands as an inspirational focal point, accessible from all 3 houses of worship, as well as the Tri-Faith Center. The bridge runs over Hells Creek. Countryside and the Tri-Faith community have taken steps to make Hells Creek a more harmonious area of the Commons by planting native trees, shrubs, and flowers in order to provide food and shelter for wildlife and absorb water, which reduces flooding. The new Countryside Community Church site stands as an example of acceptance, community, and love, regardless of differences in faith or lifestyle. With eco-friendly features and state-of-the-art technology, the new facility is a resource for building faith, relationships, and connections for people of all walks of life. The Bridging Faith in the Environment Church Campus as a Resorted Biodiverse Plains Ecosystem project was one of 105 projects receiving over $18 million in grants from the Nebraska Environmental Trust. The Nebraska legislature created the Nebraska Environmental Trust in 1992. Using revenue from the Nebraska Lottery, the trust has provided more than $289 million in grants to more than 200,000 projects across the state. Anyone, including citizens, organizations, communities, farmers, and businesses, can apply for funding to protect habitat, improve water quality, and establish recycling programs in Nebraska. The Nebraska Environmental Trust works to preserve, protect, and restore our national resources for future generations.
And now I would like to introduce Christian Vistat, who is going to talk to us about why this is important to him and his generation.
Hello, like Sherry said, I'm Christian Vistat, and I am a junior at Millard North High School. I'm involved in the Faith Singers Choir and the Countryside Community Church High School Youth Group. The environment and the way it functions stably is important, as well as the Countryside Community Church community as a whole. We recognize environmental responsibility as an ongoing process, which is why we have prioritized eco-friendly guidelines for ourselves. For example, we have instituted a styrofoam product ban as well as promote recycling. It is our job to leave this world a better place for future generations, which is why I am proud of the work we have done to promote eco-consciousness. As you heard in the video, the building our church resides in stands on ground that used to be an 18-hole golf course. Golf courses are well known for the environmental destruction they wreak, with copious pesticides and the removal of native plants, such as wildflowers and trees, that in turn also drive out native animals. The uniform look they all seem to have is completely artificial and harms the environment every day. We as a church have resolved to reverse many of the problems posed by the land's past. With the help of the $125,000 Nebraska Environmental Trust grant, Countryside has been able to install landscaping with trees, shrubs, flowers, and more, all once native to Nebraska. In our culture, landscaping is often striving for a uniform look with standard perfectly mowed grass and minimal biodiversity. But this takes extra water, pesticides, gas, and oil. Using the native Nebraska plants, we can naturally take care of our landscaping without polluting the ground with these harmful materials. The plants have already adapted to Nebraska life and don't require as much artificial care. Nebraska plants also provide an array of added benefits, including roots that can grow up to 20 feet to prevent soil erosion and reach the water table so we don't have to water them heavily, built-in pollution filters that clean the air and soil, and attract native wildlife, including many threatened or endangered species. To touch base on the filtration they provide, I'd like to briefly mention the Faith Singers trip to the northern US last year, where we visited Flint, Michigan. Even with the highly dangerous lead in the water source, the fresh roots we planted could filter out the lead in large enough quantities to where we didn't even have to worry about eating the fruit. While we don't exactly have any problems with that scope, the filtration power of the plants is completely evident and can help fix the pollution from the chemicals used in the golf course. With constant effort from our community, we can heal the land that has so quickly and deeply been harmed by our toxic landkeeping. We are forever grateful to the Nebraska Environmental Trust for the funds that began this recovery process.
Thank you, Christian. As you can tell, this was a very important project for the community, and we are grateful to NET and to Countryside Community Church for doing this project for us. I'd like to toss it over to Rick now. I don't know if you have any comments that you want to make, or if anyone has any questions for Rick.
Well, if there's no questions right now, I'll just start and indicate one of our aspirational goals when we built the church was sustainability, and that included, excuse me, the sustainability of the landscape, to include water conservation, storm management, native plants, also to improve the habitat and restore the soil health in the area. So these were all critical aspects as we planned out not only the building, but the environment around the building. Daniel Lossie was very helpful, and I may ask him to say a few words here because he was critical in terms of helping us understand the sustainability aspect from an economic and an eco-friendly perspective. So, Daniel, you may have a few words that you want to throw in here as well. I'd appreciate it.
Let me.
Sure, thank you. The thing, we work with a lot of different organizations across the nation, zoos, aquariums, healthcare, universities, and one thing that all of them are wrestling with is how to actually shift from doing no harm to become sustainable to actually doing more good and working on restoration and regeneration. Because it's when you become resilient that you create a resilient, just, and thriving world. And what I love about this project, Christian touched on it, the video talked about it, Rick mentioned it, is that Countryside Community Church has really embodied your mission of reconciliation with the earth by restoring an ecosystem back to its more natural habitat. You're making the world a better place. You're not just reducing the harm that you're providing or doing on the planet. You're actually improving the good that you do. And the way that you all showed up, so mission focused, so purpose driven with your, I remember Eric talking about reconciliation with God, ourselves, and the earth. That made this project happen. And in writing the grant, I remember that narrative being brought through as how we're really restoring this land, restoring the earth, being a steward of creation. And that shows up on the way the signs were developed, using the language that embodies what you preach and what you all strive to live for each day. So I couldn't be more pleased that the plants are in the ground, that they're blooming, that things are taking root. And also kind of what I said at the beginning, it takes time to grow goodness. And not only have you done this now, but you're going to be providing goodness for generations to come. And these root systems are going to take years to develop. The trees will mature over decades. And people of the church will be able to witness this, not just from Countryside, but from the entire Tri-Faith Initiative and beyond, because this is something that's bringing worldwide recognition. And that was one of the attractive pieces for the church, was like, we are leaders and we want to show up in that way. So here you go. Our landscape, our home, our common home, literally, is an example of what we believe. So I'm beyond thrilled and so grateful that this project happened.
Thanks, Daniel. That was Daniel, again, with Virtus Group, was key in helping us with this project. The signage that we have around the church for an education purposes has really enhanced people's understanding of what we did and how we did it and why we did it. And I love when I see our Kindernook preschool kids talking with a teacher who's explaining to everyone, all the kids, of what is out there and what it means and the different kinds of plants and the good that they do for the earth. So it was kind of neat when I saw that earlier on after we put the signs up.
Wonderful. Are there any questions for Rick or Daniel? All right, very good. Well, thank you again, everyone, for being with us today. And we have this.
Daniel had one thing, I think.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Daniel.
I have a question. What changes have you witnessed from kind of the barren, just kind of grass and construction site pre-building to now in terms of butterflies and bees and other pollinators and birds? What kind of wildlife have you witnessed come and make this place home or let it be a resting stop on their migration?
Maybe Eric or Chris. or Dan? If you can unmute Eric there, I think he wanted to say something.
Yeah. Hold on. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, good question, Daniel. And I walk the bridge all the time, and in fact, once a week I've been walking it with the imam too. We take a few circles around, and it's wonderful to see the butterflies and bees, and also it was several months back. I took a walk at night, and to see all the fireflies lighting up, and they were the fireflies lighting up, the ones that do it simultaneously. That was one of the most incredible sights that I've ever seen. But they were all over in the trees that have been allowed to grow up along the creek there, just flashing and communicating and lighting up the place. It was just beautiful, and it's been really neat to see how many people from the community are walking that bridge just all the time, from little kids on tricycles to parents with strollers and people jogging it, and they stop and read the signs. It's been really gratifying. The other thing I would add too is that we're deeply appreciative to NET for this grant, and we're also committed not to relying on that to be our only environmentally sustainable thing. We really committed aggressively to creating an environmentally sustainable building, and our roof is wired and plumbed for solar. So our eventual goal is to become as close to net zero as we can, and so we really got aggressive about that, and throughout the entire planning process. I've never seen a church, when they design churches, people like bigger is better, and they want to build all these great things, but the whole environmental sustainability issue actually got all of our committees saying much more efficient can we make it, how small can we make this and still have a functioning and vital church. And so it was breathtaking to see how sustainability really informed our efforts from the very beginning.
That's
Yes,
wonderful.
I'll reiterate Eric's comment and thanking NET for this opportunity to be able to show witness of what we can do in an environment to make it sustainable and eco-friendly. So thanks again to NET and Daniel for his guidance at Virtus.